We're here with Darren Flindell, the number one race caller in Sydney, perhaps Australia, perhaps the world. Depends who you ask. We're going to be previewing this weekend's Everest race at Royal Randwick. Darren, how are you feeling heading in towards the race?
Pretty excited, Liam, and with the good news that's been coming through during the week as well, that initially we were going to have a crowd of 5,000, now it's 10,000. That does make it all the more exciting to know that there's going to be some type of an atmosphere there this Saturday.
We'll jump straight into the race itself. It's obviously one of the most exciting races on the calendar here in Sydney. And, there's so much prize money up for grabs. Out at, number one, Nature Strip, out of barrier 10 this year. It's obviously a supremely talented horse, ran 7th in last year's Everest. It's performed pretty well in the lead up. Do you think it can overcome that wide gate and lead all the way?
I'm not so concerned about the wide gate with Nature Strip. I'm probably more concerned about the damage potentially that his stablemate could do, Home Affairs, who does look pretty fast out of the gates. And I think so far, Home Affairs has been a natural running type in the lead. So not only does Nature Strip have to worry about Home Affairs, he's also got his old sparring partner, EDUARDO, to think about. But at the price and the likelihood of him being put out of his comfort zone, which can happen with Nature Strip, I'm not rushing to back him at the price that's available.
Classique Legend, last year's winner. It's probably going to start favourite again out of barrier 5. The interesting thing with this runner, of course, is it's pretty lightly raced compared to a lot of the other horses in the race. Only one start since last year's Everest. Do you think he can go back-to-back this year with Kerrin McEvoy on board, who, of course, knows all about winning Everest races?
Absolutely. He's going to be my top pick in the race, Classique Legend. And I know there's a lot going against him, going to Hong Kong, suffering the bleeding attack over there. It's been a long process to get him home. He had to come back via New Zealand. And Les has had a big job on his hands. He had a horse that was not fit, and he's had to try and devise a way to get him there without knocking him about either. And he's chosen the path of having 3 barrier trials, and there's been great progression from each of them. And I think it was that last trial 10 days ago when he went to the line and Kerrin McEvoy just had him strangled going over the line. He came back and they said he wasn't making a noise, wouldn't blow a candle out. So it suggests that Les has got the preparation of him spot on to go back to back. I think it's got a lot of similarities to last year. He can just sit back in the field in the first half, just relax, breathe, and then be ready for that one big sprint down the middle of the track late.
You talk about that pace in the race. You can't talk about speed without EDUARDO. Very impressive winning the shorts in the lead up, taking down Nature Strip. A little bit disappointing last year in the Everest, running 11th. Do you think it can surprise a few people, lead all the way from barrier 7?
I'd be surprised if he kept going with the intensity of the pace up front, but he's racing in brilliant form. Nash Rawiller has got a great rapport there with EDUARDO, so he'll try and give him the easiest time of being up there on the pace without busting a gut to do it. But I'm sure EDUARDO will be around the action at the 200 metres.
Horse that's always very classy is GYTRASH. Drawn the rails here, ran a gallant 3rd last year, came home nicely. Only one start this prep in the lead up. Do you like it from the inside draw?
On form, I do. He's only run in Sydney this preparation. Arguably, if that run opened up between runners, I got the impression he was going to go very close to winning it. My only little concern is I called his trials subsequent to that at Warwick Farm, and they're a little bit hard to get a guide on because only track work riders have been able to ride in those trials. And the fella that rode him's quite heavy. I'd be imagining like high 70s kilos. And GYTRASH had his head up and he was labouring in that barrier trial. Now, I've got to try and weigh up, was it the heavy weight in the saddle, or is perhaps he regressed since that first start? So to me, there's a little bit of an unknown there with GYTRASH. His racetrack form's great. He ran terrific last year, and he's only run in Sydney this preparation. Arguably, he should have gone close to winning, so he must be respected.
Trekking, always a very honest horse. Drawn barrier 4 here. Only came into the fray on the weekend with the Godolphin, waiting until kind of the last minute to choose its runner for its slot. Ran 4th last year. Do you think it can improve on that?
I'd be looking at a similar position from Trekking this year. I don't look at him as one of the winning chances, but he'll be competitive. And he certainly should be included in trifectas or first fours if you're playing that way.
As for Masked Crusader, it's been one of the fancy runners throughout the whole lead up to the Everest in the market. It's in winning form following the Premier Stakes a couple of weeks back. Do you think it can topple the two favourites?
It's highly possible because the speed will be similar to what it was last year, you would think, and that should play into Masked Crusader's hands. He's building up a bit of a following. A lot of people want to compare him to the great grey, Chautauqua, as he does tend to produce a similar type of finish. And the win a fortnight ago was breathtaking. He looked in all sorts of trouble at about the 200 metres, and Berry got the gaps and he accelerated so quickly. But he's his own worst enemy. He gets so far back, and it's very hard in sprint races when you've got, like, Classique Legend might have more tactical speed than him and can be a few lengths closer in the run. He's a very exciting horse, Masked Crusader, and he definitely could win this, but he's going to have you in a situation where you'll have your heart in your mouth for a long portion of the straight.
How about Wild Ruler? It's drawn barrier 11 here, which is probably not ideal. It's come off a good win in the Group 1 down at Moonee Valley a couple of weeks ago. Do you think it can shock a few people, given it's a little bit over the odds?
No. The moisture in the track this week will go against Wild Ruler. I'm a big fan of the horse, but he must get on dry tracks, and there's just we've had a lot of misty rain here today. Admittedly, it will dry out, but too risky.
The Inferno out of the widest gate barrier 12. It's in solid form, narrowly missing out in the Moyer Stakes. Are you giving it any chance here?
I'm certainly not ruling it out. It comes with a nice profile from Singapore and could run up to a mile, so it'll be very strong late. And he's already won in Australia, so he's proven that he's already acclimatised here. Interesting runner. I certainly wouldn't say no.
Embracer, it's had to come in last minute, obviously with the injury to Rothfire. It's run second in both its races prior to this. It's not getting much love in the market, but do you think it could pull off an upset?
He's looked the winner in 2 races where he's had a very light weight leading up to this. And at the end of the day, he hasn't been good enough. So at the set weights, this would be a big, big ask.
Lost and Running out of barrier 2. Hasn't landed a shot in the lead up, running last in the shorts. It's got an inside barrier. Huey Bowman on board. He's proven in some big races. You think it's a decent each way chance, or perhaps even better? He's
certainly improved from his first run to his second run, and the draw gives him the favours. He can sort of just posse up behind all the leaders. But to date, we haven't seen enough now to suggest he could beat these type of horses at this level. But the draw certainly ensures that he'll get the right run to be a chance to do it.
Libertini ran 8th last year. It's out of barrier 8 this year. Haven't seen much of it in the lead up at all. Outside chance in the market. Are you giving it a hope this year?
No hope, to be honest. The way she's trialling, I think she's well below where she was 12 months ago. And no, I couldn't be entertaining Libertini, I'm afraid. Just doesn't seem to be going as well now as in previous seasons.
The final runner in this year's Everest that will touch on his home affairs, you mentioned before, has had some solid support in the markets at single-figure odds at the moment. It's won its only start in the lead up to the race. Do you think Big Race Bossy will come into play here and gain his second Everest win?
It's very possible. He looks very, very exciting, and he nearly broke the track record at Rosehill when he won the Heritage Stakes. He's got a lot of speed, and it probably depends on, can Glenn sort of harness that speed? Will he go forward and make the running, or will he just switch off and relax a little bit behind them? He's the real X factor in the race this year. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be saying no about home affairs. He's certainly in the top bracket. Well,
it's sure to be a fantastic race. A big day at Royal Randwick. Crowds back for the first time in months. Who's your top tip for the race, and maybe a roughie as well?
Classique Legend, clearly my on-top pick. And if I was going to take the chance with a roughie, I'd go with the ex-Singaporean horse, the Inferno. We just don't know how good he is because I think he was only beaten once in Singapore. Nice profile. So, yeah, the Inferno, the roughie, Classique Legend to go back-to-back.
Well, Darren Flindell, thanks so much for your time. Look forward to hearing your call on the weekend for the Everest.
Cheers. Thanks, Liam.